to welcome each of you back to the Dang Right, a Melissa football podcast with Coach Nally. I'm your host, Coach Nally. I want to thank Mr. Kramen and the duo of Max and Shipp for putting on this podcast. Max and Shipp are like the duo of SpongeBob and Patrick Star. They're all about fun. F is for friends who do all stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all. Now, on to our guest. Our guest today is someone that I've got the opportunity to meet and watch coach this past year. He's the Phil Jackson of Melissa High School. Today's guest is the head boys basketball coach here at Melissa High School, Coach Stephen Fraiar. Hey, Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Coach. How you doing? Phil Jackson. Wow, that's awesome.
Hey, yeah, dang right, Coach, dang right. Well, Coach, first question I always ask, man, is, and I know you've got a pretty cool one, man, but give us the life story of Stephen with a PH Fraiar.
Oh boy, life story. Oh boy, I can go on forever on this one, but let me just try to touch on the highlights.
Right.
So I was born in Dallas, Texas. I'm a DFW resident through and through. Growing up, you could find me one of three places: either at my church, which is in Love Field, playing basketball, which I grew up playing basketball, just outside, played at rec centers and stuff. Did a lot of that. Or you find me in front of a piano. I'm a music minor, so I did that. So that was kind of my three things. So I was just busy growing up. Went to high school, Plano East. I was a decently good athlete, I guess, and then got a scholarship to play basketball and play at College of the Ozarks in Missouri. Won national championship.
Right.
all the good stuff. Did all that. Had a cup of coffee overseas, playing a little bit, and then
right.
Came back and started working. Met my wife. Well, she met me kind of, and that's a whole nother story. But, we met each other and everything. And, I got a job in the fire department. My dad was a firefighter for 30 years. He was in the military for 33.
Wow.
And so I kind of just got into family business, or so I thought, I guess, if you will. Started doing that, loved it. I wanted to, be a medic. I wanted to help people out. That was my big thing. I wanted to serve. And so I rode the ambulance and stuff, worked downtown Dallas, all parts of Dallas. I've seen all types of stuff and was able to do all that. And finally, after a couple, runs I went on and things like that, I always wanted to coach. And I coached, AAU basketball on the side, but really didn't want to teach. I'm not going to lie, So, my wife and I kind of talked back and forth about that. She had been teaching, she had been in education and stuff. And finally, after kid number 2, we're like, we got to figure out how we're going to get on the same page. And so I applied to be a teacher. Didn't apply to coach, just applied to be a straight teacher. And, the first school that called me was Frisco Liberty. And I got there and they said, hey, you're not going to coach. You're going to be a straight teacher. You're going to teach health science. And I thought it was just basic health. I'm like, okay, I'm teaching a health class. And so do I really want to get into this profession? But to be honest with you, it was just the biggest blessing in my life because I got there and taught and was able to serve the basketball team and serve the athletic department essentially, and taught a class I love. And it's a class that, kids can learn how to be medics, learn nursing and paramedicine and be doctors and PAs, that type of stuff. So, I did that. Long story short, I guess, started doing that. And after serving for couple years doing that, just not as a coach on salary. I just kind of did that and then was able to move up in the ranks and then ended up coaching basketball there for, I guess, 9 years total. And then this is my second year at Melissa. So
dang right,
that's the short, long story, I guess.
Dang right. No, that's awesome, man. Well, first off, I'm going to go off script here, man. What about piano? Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
I can play chopsticks, you know what I mean? And I can play that song that dun 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 dun. And that's all.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I can play. So what songs can you play, man?
I can so I've been playing piano since I was 4 and I'm 40 right now. So I can play really anything, to be honest with you. I was a music minor in school, so I sang, did all that stuff. And my piano was so my aunt, my dad's sister, she was a music teacher at Jackson State University. She was their music director. So my parents were big on keeping us out of trouble. They were always working and busy. So they tried to give us stuff to do to keep us from getting in trouble, doing things, running with the wrong crowd. So my mom's like, you can play basketball. Then when it got too hot outside, came inside and she's like, hey, you're going to practice your piano. And so I was kind of kicking my head, kind of fighting her on it for, growing up. She's like, you need 30 minutes a day of practice and, You know, it's just something that she made me do growing up. So I'm classically trained. Anything from Tchaikovsky to Beethoven to Mozart to, anything, Moonlight Sonata, whatever song you want. And then after I got a little bit older, I realized that, like, you know, piano was kind of a good thing. When I got to college, you know, I started playing more like, you know, R&B and jazz, and I was in Branson, Missouri. So
that's how you picked up your wife, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it helped. It helped. It gave me some, you know, some brownie points, if you will. You know, but no, I started doing that, and being in Branson, I mean, you're in a town full of people that are senior citizens, so that kind of changed my whole genre of music I was playing and stuff, to going from classical to R&B to going back into playing like 40s and 50s and stuff. So
that's awesome.
Temptations, Four Tops, Motown, Sinatra, all that stuff. So.
Dang right, dude. That's awesome.
Yes,
you know, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, dude, like, I like classical music, and you know, my wife doesn't like it, but I like listening to Elvis and the Beatles and stuff like that. But classical music, man, Moonlight Sonata, man, that's my fave.
Oh yeah,
that's my fave.
No,
man.
it's great. It's great.
That's awesome, dude. I think though, if you have a talent like that, you need a nickname. Do you have a nickname?
So my college buddies just call me Renaissance Man, or like Mr. Everything. All that. It's kind of weird, but like I hate saying that, but yeah, because like there's oh yeah, Friar does that. He plays piano, he sings. You know, I did plays, all that type of stuff, and then, you know, we'll drop 30 on you. You know,
dang right, dang right. I think I'm gonna call you the conductor.
Conductor.
You know, like you're conducting the basketball team, and you also can, you know, play the piano, and the conductor. That sounds like a legit. I hope it sticks.
I love it.
I hope it sticks. The conductor. All right, Coach, let's get right into it.
Yes,
Who's the greatest of all time, Coach? Who's the greatest basketball player? We're talking about the NBA. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time?
Michael Jordan. It's not even close.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. I got Shipp and Mac's approval as well on Michael Jordan. But what's the debate? If you can't say Jordan and you can't say LeBron, and let's take Kobe out of the picture too, Coach, who's the best?
Who? No Jordan, no LeBron?
Yeah.
No Kobe?
No Kobe, Coach. Yeah.
Okay, so my real answer, honestly, would be Larry Bird.
Dang right.
And the reason and the reason why is because, you know, I don't just judge people on their highs. And then kind of going to the Kobe Jordan debate, the Jordan LeBron debate, but like LeBron and Jordan have a lot of highs. Larry Bird, they have a lot of highs, you know, but where you kind of, you know, differentiate those guys is the lows. You know, Jordan didn't have a low. Larry Bird had very few lows. You know what I mean?
Right.
LeBron had some lows. You know, that series against Dallas, that was a low for him. You know,
dang right, it was.
He recovered from it, but like at the end of the day, though, like that's how you differentiate between, you know, good to great or great to excellent. You know, that's how low you get, and that's kind of why Larry Bird. I mean, he's my guy. I mean, he and I couldn't be more different. You know, he's from the country, I'm from the city. You know, he couldn't jump over a piece of paper. You know, I could jump out the gym. You know, he could shoot lights out. You know, the lights were on and I was shooting, but, you know, it still went in occasionally, you know, things like that. But at the same time, though, I just love his spirit, you know, his drive and just his toughness. You know, that's just something I always bought into.
What about Tim Duncan? Because to me, Timmy Duncan is so underrated that, you know, when people talk about the greatest of all time, which I'm saying, like, to me, Tim Duncan has got to be maybe not in the conversation of the greatest of all times, but he's got to be in the conversation of, man, maybe that top 5, maybe top 10 guys of all time. The reason I like Tim Duncan so much is, you know, growing up, the Dallas Mavericks were terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, I was in high school and in younger college when Tim Duncan was playing, but you know that probably has something to do with it. But I just think when you look back at all the great NBA players, man, just a guy that I really felt like was so coachable and did exactly what he was supposed to do to make his team successful. To me, Timmy Duncan, once again, he's not in the conversation of the greatest of all time. But I think, man, maybe if you take a couple guys out, he's potentially pushing it. No, you know what I'm saying?
No, he's there. He's there. He's close. I mean, for me, as a Mavericks fan, I mean, it was Heartbreak Hotel playing the Spurs a lot of times, you know. And I mean, Tim Duncan, what I liked about him, I mean, very similar to Larry Bird in the sense is that, like, they showed up and did their job every single day. You never heard a peep about them. And, you know, I think Greg Popovich is a great coach. Obviously, the Spurs are a great organization. But I mean, you remove that variable, which is Tim Duncan. You know, what have they done since then?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, he's been able to be surrounded by good players, but just the humility of how he carried himself. You know,
man.
and then you look at his finals when they played the Nets. He had a quadruple double almost. Like that's unheard of. You know,
that's stupid.
In the finals game.
Right.
You know, so
right.
I mean, he's definitely up there too. I mean, I like his demeanor. Now, again, like he and I probably couldn't be more different when it comes to like just playing basketball and just the way you carry yourself and stuff. But I love it. I mean, I respect it. And yeah, he should be up there too. He's top 10 for me. So
I agree, man. And I'm not gonna lie, Coach. Like, you know, I'd be in the front yard shooting into the basket in the front yard, and I'd be the man from French Lick, Indiana, you know, doing that. So, but yeah, 100%. I totally understand that Larry Bird comment, 100%. Coach, what inspired you to become a basketball coach, and who were your major influences?
Oh wow, my inspiration to be a coach was more so just an inspiration to serve. You know, I wanted to, you know, when I graduated college, you know, you kind of go to college to figure out, you know, what you want and all that type of stuff. And, you know, I told you about music and stuff, and I did some journalism thing, a little bit here or there, trying to figure out what I wanted to do and everything. And just kind of loving the game of basketball and loving youth and seeing development. I knew I wanted to serve in some capacity, you know. Initially, like I said, I thought that was going to be in the healthcare field consistently, you know, and then, you know, I always kind of felt myself going back to dealing with kids, you know, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so, honestly, like influence-wise, like my dad and my parents, they were just really huge on me. My dad was, like I said, military firefighter, so he was always serving. My mom, you know, she was she worked corporate, but like her way was serving us as kids. Like she was running me from gym to gym. You know, we moved from Dallas to Plano. I'd go to school in Plano. I'd come back to Dallas, go to church. I mean, she was going around doing stuff like that, you know. And then that was kind of just the way that, like, I saw them growing up serving us and then therefore serving their community too. And I'm like, you know what, this is kind of something that I want to be who I am, you know, my purpose and whatnot. And so that's kind of why going from the healthcare field, which is an awesome profession, to this is like, I mean, it's like a hand to a glove. You know, I love it just because you're able to serve and help the community out and do that type of stuff. So
the conductor's conducting. That was a pretty good, golly, that was good. That was really, really good. Let me ask you this, though. You know, like, I think that every coach has a teacher or a coach that was in their life. Did you have anyone in your life that was a teacher or a coach that, you know, Coach, I remember being in 7th grade and people were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, man, I'm going to be one of two things. I'm going to grow up and be a preacher, or I'm going to grow up and coach. Yeah. And, you know, my mom used to always say, you're going to be one of two things. You're going to be a preacher or a lawyer because you talk all the time. You know what I'm saying? So my curiosity for you is I had a coach in my life that really, I thought, man, you know, that guy's had such a major impact on me. That's something that maybe I want to do. Yeah. Did you have that in your life?
You know, I had a lot. I mean, I'm fortunate that every coach I've had, I was able to draw from. But my best coach ever, honestly, was my grandmother, you know.
Dang right.
And she's, I mean, little old lady, she's probably like 5'2", which is nuts looking at my height and my dad's height and stuff. But no, she was in Mississippi, and like I'd go there every summer and hang out with her for the most part. And we'd be in the front of her, you know, land and stuff like that, and we'd be throwing the ball and everything. She's like, you have to throw like this, bring your elbow up, you know, and be swinging the bat. She'd tell me how to swing the bat, you know, and this lady, she was in her 60s at the time, and you know, the middle of Mississippi, you know, doing that. And so, but what she did, and she was a teacher for forever, so that was the real family business, honestly. When she was doing that, she was really instructing me and telling me, like, it was that belief she instilled, you know. I knew I wasn't a great, you know, baseball player by any means, but she was helping me believe that. You know, I knew I wasn't great at, she would make me memorize like books of the Bible, things like that, just things she would teach me on and coach me up on. And I'm like, I'm not that good at this, but she would like almost demand it, you know, and it was one of those things that like the expectation was up high, and I had to make sure I was trying to reach the expectation every time I was around her. So, I mean, coaching wise, I mean, I would say she's my biggest influence when it comes to that. But I mean, in sports though, I never had every coach I had, I draw a little bit from, you know, they'd all be great. So.
Right. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Let me ask you this, man. Who's your favorite basketball player of all time?
So Jordan's my favorite. I mean, just because of the will he had, drive. Bird's, like I said, up there too. Right now, though, to be real with you, this is going to sound selfish, but it's my son. You know, he's my favorite one. My oldest son is my favorite. My younger sons, I mean, both of them really my favorite. My oldest one right now, because he's starting to kind of really get it, you know?
Yeah, heck yeah.
It's funny with him because I'll see him do things and we'll come in and work out and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, like this is nuts. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how he's figuring that out, you know,
yeah.
but he's just he just kind of gets it, you know. My younger son's my favorite athlete though. Now but Steele's my favorite basketball player. So
dang right. I'm gonna throw this out here. So like, you know, we talk about nicknames. So you know, you look at me and I'm, you know, a 5'8" nothing, you know. I went to a basketball high school. It was known for basketball. So, and I could shoot. So people call me Tony COACH. Okay, this is back in the day. Back in the day. So, but yeah, my favorite basketball player, Coach. I'm originally from Indiana. So my favorite basketball, I was an Indiana Pacer fan growing up. So obviously,
Reggie,
baby,
gosh.
Reggie, Reggie. You know what I'm saying? So, Michael Jordan, that's a good one. I mean, obviously, I mean, you can say, you know, anyone else, but, you know, Michael Jordan's probably, you know, every 90s kid's favorite basketball player of all time. But Reggie.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, Reggie was good.
New York Knick killer, baby.
No, Reggie could play. And I respect Reggie's, first of all, his loyalty to Indiana. That was awesome. You know? And then, I mean, but he wasn't even the best player in his family, you know. I mean, because Cheryl can light him up too, you know what I mean? So, but no, Reggie could play.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, Coach, what advice would you give to younger coaches out there that are wanting to be a coach in today's climate?
I would say, wow, that's a great question. I would say number one, you know who you are, know yourself, you know, be authentic. I think sometimes in today's world we're trying to be something that we're not oftentimes, you know, so. One of the best pieces of advice I received was that, you know, just be yourself always. You know, don't try to fake it till you make it. You know, just, you know, be you. And then the next thing would be just ask questions. You know, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask, you know, even some people perceive them as dumb questions. Like, ask what you need to ask, you know. Find somebody that you can talk to and lean on and, you know, just really put yourself out there a little bit, you know. And the last piece of advice I'd say probably is just be humble, you know.
Right.
Approach everything with humility. Don't try to think that you're bigger than whatever it is you're coaching. Don't think you're bigger than the program. Don't think you're bigger than the school, the community, all that type of stuff.
Right.
Really try to just approach it with the humble spirit, the servant's heart, you know, and lead with love. That's the last thing I'd say.
Well, you know, I mean, it's a great answer just because of the fact of, you know, I've always wanted to do like a rookie symposium for coaches, you know, because when you get in this profession, you know, you go to college and all this stuff, but they never teach you what coaching really is. You know, like you're getting in to compete, or you're getting into, you know, you feel that you want that camaraderie back that you had and things like that. But no one really teaches you how to coach and what it takes to go through the coaching journey. So that's great advice. It's 100% great advice. I just wish that we had something in our coaching fraternity that we could help grow those young guys. Because I don't know what your experience was, but when my experience was when I got in, I was totally lost. And you said it perfectly. Be yourself. And I wasn't myself. I was early on. I was who I thought that they wanted me to be and act like and things like that. So, no, that's really, really good advice. All right, Coach, what is your perspective on the growing role of social media in sports, particularly in relation to your players and team dynamics?
Oh, boy. So I think with social media, you know, you have to there's a lot of nuance to that conversation. So I think number one, you can use social media or social media can use you, you know.
Dang,
and
guys,
so the way I would –
do you hear this, Shipp and Max? I mean, dude, he is laying down gospel right now. Golly, keep going.
But it's the truth, though. You can use social media or social media can use you. So case in point, you know, there's a lot of narratives that can be out there about you, you know. So the image you want to project for people, you have full control of that. You know, you don't have control of their response and their reaction, but you have control of like who you project, you know. So something that we try to tell athletes, you know, looking at social media is that number one, like that's the, you know, quote unquote visual representation of yourself outside of the human form, you know. And so if I walk up to you and make a first impression, you look at and see, okay, he's, you know, he's got a white shirt on, he's got black pants on, he's wearing J's, you know, whatever. That's you look at me, you know, up front. But when somebody sees you on social media, they're not seeing that. You know, they're seeing the digital version of that. So you have to make sure what you're putting out there is the best version of yourself. At the same time, though, that version needs to be authentic, like we talked about before, as far as coaching, and also just making sure that you're projecting what people need to see from you. So that's when you use social media for good, that's great. When you use it for bad, that's when you start getting into, oh, I'm comparing myself to this person over here because he has a 30-second reel of him dunking or shooting threes and stuff like that.
Right.
But the rest of the game, he went 5 for 12.
Right.
Or football, like he makes a highlight play, that's great, but he misses a block every time he's playing. Things like that. So when you have perspective on how social media can work in your good, then you can use it in this proper form. But then at the same time, though, if you keep looking at other people and start comparing yourselves to the people around you, then social media will use you. So,
dang right. I like that you said that social media use you. I think that we all, not just kids, but we all look for that instant gratification that social media brings. And I'll be honest with you, man, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I just decided, I'll be one of those guys that I want to use the word addicted. Like I was addicted to social media. And about 3 or 4 years ago, man, I was like, this is taking over who I am. So I allow myself to get on social media once or twice a week. Yeah. And and there's so much negative narrative out there too, so, but I understand that it is a tool for kids and it's a tool for coaches that should be used
100%
in today's world. But you're right, man. I mean, it's how you use it. All right, Coach, is there a coach, teacher, or administrator here at this school that you believe could beat you in a game of basketball? And you can't say Coach Moore, Coach Smith.
Well, Coach Smith definitely can't. So
what? Dude, challenge accepted. I've already hit it. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, Coach Smith can't because I'm
gonna be honest with you. I've seen him play, dude.
I've seen him play too, and like he's gonna try to beat me up on the block, and that's great and all. But like I can, I still move a little bit. Coach Moore is gonna outshoot me. I have no answer for that. He's the best shooter I've ever been around, honestly. And been around a lot of people, but he's different.
Dang right.
Everybody else, nah, I'm fine.
I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Yeah. We played a lot of summer league basketball as a coaching staff. Yeah. Now, Coach Pickup, you might have a little bit of height and length, so I don't know if he can beat you, but I'd like to see you play Coach Hamilton.
Okay.
I would. I'd like to see you play. Coach Hammy's pretty good.
Is he good?
Pretty good. Now, Coach Witt's pretty good too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you somebody that's like, you don't think that he would be good because he's 50, but Coach Hemsley can ball, man. Now
he can ball. He can ball.
But he's going to bank it.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be a bank shot, but he can get it in there. So,
I like my ACL to stay intact, so I play very sparingly,
All right, Coach, you're in the off season, man. What do you do to unwind?
Man, to be honest with you, that's something. Being full transparent, I need to do a better job of unwinding. I work out every morning. I just have a habit every morning. I get up at 4:30. I go to the gym. I go work out. I have like a little Devo time to myself, and then I just go to my gym and do whatever workout is for the day. So that's kind of my unwinding for that moment.
Yeah.
But aside from that, just spending time with the family. I'm always thinking about something, always trying to grow and get better,
Right.
So
Dang right.
I really don't, again, full transparency, I'm trying to get better about, kind of just kicking back and relaxing and kind of turning my brain off, but I think for me, it's like for part of what my, curse is essentially, and maybe a gift too, I guess, is that like I can't turn it off. I'm always just on thinking about like how to improve, or thinking about like, okay, these are ways we can get better. These are ways I can get better. These are things we can do as a program. These are things I can do as a father and a husband and things like that. So,
Dang right.
I need to unwind better, to be honest with you. Even when like we're on vacation, I'm in, Augusta, at a vacation. My son and I, we're just hanging out, and I'm thinking about like, man, I probably should trap harder on that play. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking about like skills and stuff. So so that's something I'm trying to get better at, to be honest with you. So.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Coach. When you said 4:30, I thought Shipp was going to faint.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He double-taked. He was like, well, did he just AM?
Every morning. Like, it's like clockwork, too. There's no and if I don't, I feel weird about it. I can't. My body is so adjusted to that now I might go back to sleep if I'm not working out that day, but for the most part, I get up at 4:30 and I move around a little bit. My dog is like, the dog's like 110 pounds, so he's like in my way, and he wants to be walked and fetched with, and so I'll go to the gym and come back home. But every morning, like clockwork, I have to get up. So
hey man, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that's a good thing, and it's healthy that people do that. All right, man. You were Mr. Eckert's assistant coach, Mr. Eckert, Principal Eckert, assistant coach. Man, what was that like?
Oh boy. Honestly, it was one of those things that, you know, I feel like God puts you in places for a reason, you know, and I think, you know, he had a huge impact on myself just as a person, knowing the nuances of coaching and teaching and stuff like that. You know, he was my mentor coming in because I had no classroom experience, you know, so he showed me how to conduct the classroom effectively. He showed me how to do basketball stuff. And so the experience of working with him was just life-changing because he was somebody that I loved, this fact that, like, he came in, he had no ego either. He was very, you know, very humble, wanted to serve and everything. And at Liberty, I mean, we had some dudes. I mean, just straight dudes. I mean, you look up and, I mean, Power 5 kid. I mean, just really good players and everything. But Coach Eckert was really good about, like, keeping the main thing, you know, focusing in on the things you can control, approaching everything with humility, trying to lead with love and stuff. Had no problem, like, sharing his testimony to those kids. And so when I saw him do that, you know, sometimes society gives you a rap about, like, you can't be yourself completely, you know.
Right.
When I saw him do that, that gave me kind of the courage to be able to do that whenever I was running my program and stuff. So it's really cool to work with him. I have stories for days on him. You know, he he got tossed from a game one time.
Oh yeah, dang right.
I'll never forget that.
Dang right.
Because, and it was for, and I'm not going to why, but it was a good reason for him getting tossed. So I'll say that. But when it happened though, the aftermath was the best part because we were in Dallas and it was like we were like number 3 in the state. We were playing number 1 in the state and playing Lancaster, and it was a whole big ordeal. The whole gym was against us and everything, and you know he started walking, but he had nowhere to go. And so he gets up and the ref was like, "You're tossed," or whatever. And Eckert walks to half court and like, you know, it's probably like maybe 5 or 10 seconds, but it seemed like forever. He's like making a big circle. It was like a movie scene, you know. And then finally the director of athletics got him and took him off and everything. But like, that's a moment I'll never forget because he looks up, he starts turning around like where do I go, you know? And meanwhile the crowd's just booing him and everything, going nuts and stuff, you know. And then he walks off, you know. And so I was just like, I'll never forget that image because, like, again, like it happened, but he just sat there looking around, you know. And then, you know, next he's in the locker room after the game's over with, you know, we lose, and he get in there and we talk to the players and ended up getting the police escort out of the gym because of the fans were not happy with us for whatever reason. We didn't do anything. It was just him, you know. Right. But anyways, it kind of just happened. But yeah, I'll never forget that.
Well, man, I believe there's a journey for everybody.
Yeah.
Man, how has your journey prepared you for today?
Oh boy. Yeah, you're asking some good ones, man. My goodness, man. I know we're getting this deep.
Yeah.
You know, there's a quote that my grandmother used to say, and she said, like, your experience is your expertise. Okay, so everything you've gone through in life is what you are have thorough.
Can we get quotes? Can you start writing down quotes?
Yeah,
I mean that's a great quote to live by.
Yes,
Golly,
yes,
man.
Yes, sir. Your experience is your expertise. So everything you've gone through in life is designed to prepare you for what you are inevitably an expert in. You know, and so honestly, like, I mean, there's nothing that I can't look at in my life that, number one, God hadn't had his hand on, and number two, hasn't prepared me for the next phase and what I'm doing, you know. Even going from, like, I mean, I'll go back to like high school. You know, high school, I had a good high school basketball career. My last 6 games of my senior year, I couldn't play. I got in trouble. You know, I had a big old ordeal, got in a fight, ended up being ineligible, and so I couldn't play and lost the scholarship. I was going to go to the Naval Academy. And I thought that was the end of the world, you know. Prom night, I find out I can't go to school, and then I go take a visit to College of the Ozarks and go there, and I'm like, I'm going to this small school. I'm not living the college basketball experience, you know. And I look back, you know, I was able to do music stuff there, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Able to meet friends for a lifetime, be in a totally different environment than I was before, and everything, you know, personally as a basketball player, I was able to go through and do beyond my wildest imagination, you know.
Awesome.
Getting a job teaching and coaching, you know. I mean, there were 4 schools in Frisco that had openings for health science teacher. Liberty is the first school that called me. Well, going to Liberty led me to Coach Eckert. Coach Eckert obviously led me to being able to serve on the basketball program and moving up that way. And then that, you know, over time and building relationships, you know, led me to here, which I'd never had any idea that was going to happen. So everything that you go through in your journey, again, prepares you for the next phase. And so when you look outside yourself and kind of look at like, hey, I'm here for a reason, you kind of are able to approach it, with a renewed sense of purpose and a renewed, energy, knowing that like, okay, you might be in a storm or you might be in success right now. Either way, it's going to prepare you for the next. So.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. All right, man, this is a loaded question, but who's the greatest basketball coach of all time? Greatest of all time.
Oh, greatest coach of all time?
Yeah, greatest coach of all time.
Okay, I have to give you a couple answers on this one.
All right,
okay?
all right.
So my first one would be John Wooden. And the reason why I say John Wooden is because obviously he had Kareem and Bill Walton. So that helps when you're in the 70s and the average height is my height, which is 6'4". So I mean it helps when you have two 7-footers.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, now in the 70s, I mean, I'd be a giant, but now I'm kind of,
Could I be like an average height guy in the 70s?
I mean,
oh man, golly.
I mean, yeah. You'd be on the court. but no, John Wooden's my favorite because he's one of the GOATs because of what he did in that course of time. You can't when you win 88 straight games. I mean, you have to give somebody the kudos. Another college basketball coach that I'd say I have two more. So the other one for me is Roy Williams. I love Roy Williams. I love his Kansas stuff. I love how he just pours into his players. When you hear what players say about him when he's retired, and since he left North Carolina and Kansas, they all have great things to say about him. And he's very. I met him one time. And he's just real authentic, real loving, real caring. He'll gives people hugs and everything. Just very, very. Very real, and what I liked about him is that, like, he's coached everybody from Michael Jordan to, Vince Carter, Tyler Hansbrough, all those Carolina guys and stuff like that, but, like, he's always looked at them as people, not just basketball players. Right. So he calls his players on their birthday, does things like that to show that he really cares. And so he's my number 2. My number 3 is my college coach, actually, so I'm very biased, but Steve Sheppard. He's been at College of the Ozarks since my freshman year, which is 2002.
Oh, wow.
And he's been there the whole time, we were his first class, So what I love about Coach Sheppard is that, like, Coach Sheppard has gone through, a lot, and what I mean by that is that, like, our group that went through there, we were all, quote unquote, supposed to be somewhere else. And we ended up going to his school and he merged the personalities and egos and had us kind of fulfill the purpose we needed to fulfill at the time. And it was something great. Over the course of time, school, because our school was very, very strict. Like, they pulled scholarships and stuff. They've done a lot of things to kind of make it tougher for the basketball program to recruit and things like that. And to be frank with you, like, he's been consistent the whole time, which is very, like, crazy in times like these where, like, he can pick up and leave. I mean, he's a Missouri Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. He's probably close to being in the Basketball Hall of Fame because he has that many wins and stuff like that. But it's crazy because, like, he's always been consistent, been steadfast. And so, those are my top 3. So Coach Wooden, Roy Williams, and then Steve Sheppard, my coach. So.
Bobby Knight, maybe. Bobby Knight, what do you think, Max? Bobby Knight? He's like, man,
he's up there.
Sounds great.
No, Coach Knight's up there.
Great.
I actually have a story about Coach Knight.
Yeah, let's hear
it.
So
I was playing in the Great American Shootout when I was going to my senior year, and we played against who we played against. It was going to my junior year. I was playing against Andre Emmett. Andre and I grew up together a little bit, so Dre was going to Texas Tech and everything. And Coach Knight was about to go to Texas Tech. So Dre was like, am I going to play for this guy? And Dre was like as rough as they come when it comes to guy. Like, you couldn't see him and Coach Knight like ever sitting down together, let alone him playing for him forever. So anyways, like, we're playing this thing, and, like, I have a really, really good game. I go, hey, Dre, go tell Coach Knight. Go tell Coach Knight to hook me up. And Coach Knight goes to him. He said some choice words, but he's also like, he's like, Andre, I already have one problem. I can't have two, So that was cool. But no, he shook my hand. I shook his hand, everything. He was a huge human being. I don't know if anybody realizes that. Like, Bobby Knight's he was probably 6'5", 300 pounds.
Are you serious? Yeah,
big old
no idea.
Yeah, big guy.
No idea that he was that big.
Big guy. He's looking at me. I'm like, gosh, this guy's and, like, his personality is because of what he did. He seems larger than life, but he was a big man. Yeah. I respect everything he did.
Well, I want to thank Coach Stephen Fryaer today for spending some time with us on the podcast. Coach Fryaer, is there anything that you would like to add or any final thoughts that you have to share with our listeners before we conclude?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. This has been a blessing. I would just say, like I said, be authentic. Be yourself. Be real. Don't be afraid to be who you truly are. Don't worry about what society may think or others may think. Just be steadfast, be authentic. Next one I'd say is just be dependable. You can be somebody that they can rely on, you know. That's something that's really, really important. And then the last one is just serve, you know.
Dang right.
Try to find something to do for somebody else that's outside yourself and lose yourself in that.
Dang, that's awesome. Golly, man. You should be doing this podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Dang Right podcast with Coach Nally. I want to thank our guest, Coach Fryer, the conductor. I hope it sticks. And thank again to Mr. Kramen and his students for putting on this podcast. Have a great week, and it's always a great day to be a Cardinal.